bigger. But today's not about me, today's about learning for all of you and also learning from me about the Indian esports ecosystem, especially in regards to sponsorship. I did a talk before talking about sponsorship globally, and one thing I've learned since coming here, I've done a little bit of work in the past in the Indian market with Ravi and Godlike and some other projects, but the more people I talk to, the more I understand is that everybody has the same issues, challenges, and looking at the same solutions for the market as well. So we've built a panel of lovely experts here from all over India and many different types of regions, from agencies to teams to events to brands, to give their perspective as to how everybody can make more money who doesn't want to make more revenue. So we'll start with our panelists from left to right and let them introduce themselves, and then we've got some questions, and at the end we've got some Q&A if you would like to ask some questions too.
Am I audible? Yes. Hi everyone, I'm Sumedha Mahajan. I head marketing for Ampverse DMI India. Ampverse Group is a global esports and entertainment agency. We have presence across a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, and we entered India with our Made in India IP College Rivals, which is India's largest gaming talent hunt and collegiate event, as a part of which we've had one very successful season 1 and are in the middle of season 2 with almost 150k participation, which is one of the largest in India for any college event. And because of that, we've been navigating the sponsorship, brand ROI, marketing, esports landscape a lot between the influencer, college, content bit. So I do think that this is a very relevant and super interesting topic if this community and this ecosystem has to grow. Beyond the numbers, there are a lot of nuances and finer details that I hope to discuss today.
Hello everyone, myself Kaustubh Purohit, and I'm here to represent India's one of leading esports organization, that is Godlike Esports. It's almost been 4 years I'm associated with this wonderful organization, and to start with, to be very honest, the title of the topic is so interesting. It's all about sponsorship and revenue. So everyone speaks about the strategies in esports and content creation, but yes, I'm here to discuss with you guys about how we can think very positively about revenue model, and which is very crucial for any of the organizations.
Yeah, hey guys, Sriram Vishal here from Skyesports, and I head the esports division for Sky, and we are one of the leading tournament organizers in this region, spanning over more than 15 plus unique IPs, where we cater to international as well as grassroots. And we're all here to discuss about sponsorships, and I'm here to deep dive or give a just about what are the sponsorship avenues or how it is going on with Skyesports as a tournament organizer side. So I'm here to give the perspective on that side. So yeah.
Hey guys, Vishal Parekh. I head the operations for CyberPowerPC. It's US and UK's #1 custom gaming PC brand. On this particular topic, I bring on table about 2 decades of gaming in India, esports in India, and the journey that we have seen, not just about how esports have grown from probably the first so-called big event, which was in 2015, if I'm not wrong, the first ESL that happened in India, which only had about 5,000 as people as audience, and now when we see, everything has multiplied, right? So, and from that, the esports sponsorship, which was about just in kind, and now we're talking about prize pools, which is running in crores. So, good to and happy to discuss more in detail on this topic.
Awesome. So my first question is for our lovely friend from Godlike Esports here, and I'm interested in talking about the health of the sponsorship market. You said you've been around Godlike for 4 years and have solid knowledge of the industry. So I have 2 questions for you. Number 1 is, are sponsors paying more than they were 4 years ago? What's the growth like? And then number 2, are the sponsors easier or harder to obtain in general compared to what they used to be?
Okay, that's really interesting question. 4 years ago, esports was at a stage where we were focusing on developing teams, right? Developing numbers. Then there was a point where streaming platforms came into picture, like Router and Loco, and they invested very handsome amount of money into the gaming industry. And yes, we were there as a partners of Loco and Router. And then there was a point where streaming platforms stopped investing in gaming industry. I think 2022 and 2023 were the golden years for in terms of sponsorships and revenue side for esports organizations. But after that, every organization in the gaming ecosystem needs to come out of their comfort zone, and they need to find for the sponsorships and brand associations. Previously, scene was a bit different. They used to work in bit weird way that, they used to dictate their own terms that we will be working on this streaming platform, we will not be working on this streaming platform. They had their rights because numbers were with them. But the point came where streaming platforms stopped investing. Then they realized, and then many of the organizations restructured their working methodology. And yes, the answer for your second question is, yes, it is very difficult to pursue a brand to sponsor your organization. I'm very happy to share that Hero, which is into two-wheeler segment in India, is our title sponsor, and Realme, which is into mobile phone, is our smartphone partner, and hoping for their continuous partnership. Even Red Bull is our partner. One of my talent, Jonathan, is a Red Bull athlete, and we'll tell you the case study if you allow. When we approached Hero first time, the same day we had to explain what is esports. Me and my team, we actually shown them on the mobile phone, this is called as esports. So now it's very high time that we need to come out and reach out to brands on our own to explain them what esports can do for them. It took us almost 125 to 130 days, the persuasion of this many days, from day one presentation to the day where we saw Hero logo on our jersey. So that's how it is so difficult.
Yeah, for sure, and it's the same globally, right? Like the sales cycle can be really long, and that's always a risk in business, and especially when it takes a long time to get to a no, right? I'd be interested in asking a quick follow-up question as well, is that Godlike, you have a very strong sponsorship list across endemic and non-endemic brands. Do you think is there something major that sets you apart versus other teams that don't have such a wide range of sponsorship like you do?
Okay, to answer this question, somewhere esports organizations and esports ecosystem needs to understand the basic of sponsorships and how it works, right? Brands does not look for influencer, right? What I studied, this is my personal opinion, this is what I experienced. What brands look for is opinion leader, right? So where organization lacks is, it's not just about how you are playing, how you are going and meeting people. It's not just about influencing. Brands are looking for core opinion leaders. Those opinions really matters to brands, and that really helps us to convince them. Obviously that the numbers can speak about it, the sales figures, revenue model for the brands, and the watching numbers from social medias. But yes, somewhere organizations needs to understand that they don't just need to create content. They just don't need to create good esports. They need to create opinion leaders in the organization so they can approach brands and brands can get convinced out of it. Recently, see, we are into gaming, for us, it's not a new thing that endemic brands are coming to us and we are working with them. But it's very challenging when we go to brands like L'Oreal, we go to brands like Wow Skincare, right? We have girls roster as well. We have girls team, girls content creators as well. And I personally found it very difficult, but at the same time, a huge scope of opportunities. Yes, it was difficult for us to crack first 2 to 3 deals. Then when we presented with the numbers of non-endemic brands, now that is really helping us. So that's what the key point is. Market is difficult, but that depends on you and your team, how you're handling it.
Yeah, fantastic. And that leads into our next question perfectly, actually, with Ampverse. So I'm interested in an agency perspective from that side, and around, what are brands looking for ROI from a marketing perspective, in your opinion? And I'd be interested if you could give some examples of some great ROI, and if you want to, maybe some examples of some not great ROI, and let us know.
Sure. I think agree with a lot of things that Kaustubh said, right? It is hard, it is challenging, and building on that, when brands do come, right? Some of the things, but before that, I like to say that the interest is there. So, like we call in marketing, the top of the funnel is there, right? From a conversion point of view, there are a lot of questions that come from the brands. I think from an ROI perspective, what brands look for, in my opinion and my experience, is how do they measure the success of the association. What is happening is, with the digital age coming in, a lot of influencer and content came in. I think esports fits perfectly well with what I think is the new age marketing and the next pillars of marketing, which is content, creators and community. And I think esports is at the center of it, right? So now when brands come in, while they're attracted by these three things, how do they measure them is what I feel. Now with Gen Z being every brand's, I don't know, blue-eyed generation, right? Especially with India. India has 377 million Gen Z, which is highest in the world, right? I think the first thing is, how do they associate with them? How do they get their brand to look, feel and speak the language that Gen Z speaks? Because gone are the days of traditional advertising, right? For example, I'll give you a simple example. Most of the kids are using ad blockers these days, right? So a traditional advertisement is not going to work because they'll block that. But that doesn't happen with an in-streaming experience with gaming, right? Now brands want to understand when they do this, what is the kind of viewership they can expect? Now what is the next leg of the viewership, right? What happens with that viewership? What is the kind of conversion? When conversion happens, what is the retention? In my opinion, even the ROI metrics are evolving, right? These are no longer just about acquiring users, they're also about retaining users. Even when brands come to us, a lot of them are also looking at M1 retentions, which is month one retention, right? So it's not just that. Secondly, I think there is also a lot, what I think Kaustubh also touched upon, how is the positioning with content creators? Influencers no longer are you can no longer just get away with advertising a product, even if you're the biggest influencer, right? That doesn't work with this generation. Even perfection doesn't work. What they need to know is, there's no overt advertising. So how do you seamlessly integrate in the product? They want the experience. They want the product to be a part of the gaming experience, whether it's in-game, whether it's a virtual event that's happening on ground. So to quote an example, for College Rival, which is Ampverse DMI's IP and India's largest collegiate event, we have TVS Motors, which is into two-wheelers, right? As our presenting sponsor, right, co-presenting sponsor. For them, we do test rides on ground. Now, what is happening here, apart from, of course, all the branding and everything else that we give them, we are actually talking to their audience, right? The audience that will graduate from college and then decide which bike to purchase. Brands are not just talking about today, Chris. They're also investing in their tomorrow, because if it's 377 million, right, these are going to be the consumers and customers of tomorrow, right? In fact, in India, out of every 5 consumers, 2 are Gen Zs, right? So when they're on ground, we have the manpower, we have the operational expertise to give them that experience. So when we are already doing esports tournament in colleges, we're also hosting test rides for them, right? Which is a direct access to their target audience. Red Bull is a sponsor. We have Creo as a sponsor, which is an endemic brand. They do a typing test for their keyboard, right? So I think a lot of these things, what I'm seeing with brand is no longer they want just the brand and the logo and just a shout out, right? They want to understand how the customer is actually getting to experience the product on ground, and if anyone can do that, I think the brands are coming. I think that is happening. It's at a slower pace, but it's happening both at endemic and non-endemic brands.
Yeah, I don't have any follow-ups. I think it's a great answer. Yeah, I think that's very good. And I wanted to follow that up as well, actually, with a friend from CyberPower, from the brand perspective, because you're the one actually paying the money. And there's a lot of discussion, a little bit on this panel, and then a lot around as well, about awareness versus increased demand and direct demand. I understand that direct demand can be hard because you're selling such a high level of products, but I'm interested in you talking about from your perspective, as well as from brand's perspective as a whole. What is the balance for you in there?
So I would say with CyberPowerPC, or even with my previous experience with HyperX and Kingston and all, esports sponsorships, when we look at it, or any sponsorship for any brand would be based on the life cycle or the brand cycle where the brand is right now. So while globally CyberPowerPC, like in US and UK, we are number one, we don't look at awareness anymore. It has to be ROI conversions, which then does not make sense for us to partner or sponsor esports tournaments or esports teams and all, because then it's all about how much return I get on whatever dollar I'm investing. But when it comes to say in India, we are very, very nascent right now. We've just started. For us in this country, awareness will be a prime objective. So in that case, ROI plays, like, we downplay that, because the minute I try to calculate an ROI for sponsoring a team like Godlike, I'm sure I would not get returns in place, because the conversions are not going to happen in quarter 1, quarter 2, or even quarter 4. So if I look at my annual spends on a esports tournament or esports team versus the sales that I get in return, it's always going to be negative, and negative by far, right? So globally, things like, probably I think 4 or 5 years ago, the last sponsorship we did with the team ran into like 400,000 for an annual term, which was not related to just ROI, but a lot of the factors which goes into it. And like she said, Sumedha, like these are the audience, the Gen Z right now in India. We coined a term for them, which is a dark media audience, and rightly so, because you won't find them on any of your traditional media, ATL, BTL, your digital, your performance marketing. Nothing happens over there. And they are so smart. They know how to do ad blockers. They know they use Brave instead of a Chrome or a Firefox or whatever. So the audience, like if I have to reach out to them, it is through esport, it is through community, it is through various activations like you guys do. So I guess back to the question, balancing is a very difficult term. I think a lot depends on if for the US, if you come up with a new promotion, if you launch a new PC, which is a limited edition PC, then of course awareness comes into picture, but otherwise it will be ROI. For India, it will be awareness and not ROI.
So I'm sure there's probably some people in this audience or watching the recording now or later that work in the industry, whether running teams or events. What do you want to be pitched? If you're sent a deck, what's going to make you give them all of your money?
I have always loved 3 factors when we look at going back to all the years in sponsorship and marketing and branding and everything. Consistency, discipline, and commitment, which I think India has come a long way from the early days of esports in India. Team like Godlike and many others, like the first sponsorship we did was with Team Entity. I think what we would be looking for is consistency. Consistency is not just about winning games. You win some, you lose some, but if you're consistently playing good, and if you're consistently developing your skills, that's what we would look for in a team. Discipline comes in where you're not just going out of the way, trying too many things and spoiling or getting off track from the hardcore esports and gaming lineup. So we've seen people who have started getting into, they were good players, really strong, I would call them athletes, but they started doing things which were not in lines with gaming. So obviously the discipline moves out. And commitment. So when we sponsor something, obviously there are the default KRAs and KPIs, like all your performance metrics and all. Those have to happen. I mean, there cannot be a watchdog, there cannot be a supervisor saying, oh, you were supposed to put so many shout outs or logos or do me a content piece this week, did not happen. That's something which spoils the relationship. So I think these 3 for sure, and obviously relevancy. So.
Yeah, I really liked the first part of your answer as well, and it was part of the talk that I had. And a lot of it is around like branding, because these days, even globally, a lot of esports teams, their entire branding is we're good at games, and it's simply not good enough for storytelling, right? So you have to be a little bit different and look at examples like Loud in Brazil, or Power in Australia, or FaZe in the US to say, how do they position themselves differently to everybody else, and how do they provide something great to the brand?
I think what they also figured out why gaming is, it's not just like Kaustubh said, it's not influencing, they become KOL. And that's the term which is still very loose in India. Everything is about content creators, streamers and influencers. We haven't seen the KOL ecosystem building up. When I say ecosystem, is not just the gamer himself, but there are so many of them that it's huge talent pool which could get into this whole KOL system, right? So I think that's where the change is going to happen.
Whereas, just adding to that, outside of India, even with Ampverse, right, we've seen the KOL ecosystem grow very strongly. It's like, it's extremely, that term, as you said, it's very loose in India, as with most terms in India, with media as well, right? I think it's not just about being on the screen and talking. It's about how you are actually able to convince them that the product is something even you use, right? It's not in our times when a celebrity would come up and say we use this like product and you'd believe them because they didn't, right? But we still believe them, or our parents did, right? But today the kids are smart and they actually want to see you. They want to see the behind the scenes. When they spot you somewhere, they see you on the BTS pages, community pages, and they want to see what are you using. Are you able to convince them? When they talk to them, I was seeing a lot of kids talk to Ocean right now, right? I see that everyone is about understanding. They don't want perfection, but they want to understand that are you able to change my opinion because you believe in it, right? And that's a very hard thing to do. It's not just about being presentable anymore. Authentic, genuine. I mean, as raw, even raw is acceptable, but like it has to be something that they relate to. So yeah.
So I would like to add something to discussion. When it comes to word ROI, right? Now what really matters is when it comes to approaching brands and when it comes to meeting with them, nowadays almost each and every brand is having their own research team. And that's the truth. Whenever we are proposing them about something, in the meeting they will say yes to it, or they will say, okay, we can go through it. Immediately they will pass on the file to the research team and they will make sure that all the facts are there. The most important point which I observed is brands love to see whether the organization is really believing in their own teams. If you are changing your rosters every now and then just to win the trophy, then brands does not like it. Now
that's where the commitment comes.
That's what, as sir rightly said, consistency. I'm very happy to share this. I belong to a company, I represent a company which believe in focusing on esports and teams like anything. One of my team, Call of Duty team, we stood second in the world last year and we stood fifth in the world this year. It's been 3 years. We are investing, not investing actually, they are with us, we are like family and we are with them in every ups and downs. Unfortunately, roadmap for that game is not so good in India, but yes, globally my team is flying to Saudi. They were the part of Team Falcons for one of their camp over football sports league over there, and the Team Falcons lifted the World Cup trophy of esports. Now if they have huge scope outside, so still we are keeping good patience and faith in our teams and esports that yes, everyone will get a good amount of right path in Indian market as well. And that's what brand really looks for. When brand see that a player is with organization is more than with 3 years or 4 years, that's really triggered them. And that's what more important.
Yeah, some very good answers there. And there's a funny story about, like you were talking about using it and believing in the products. And I'm sure a lot of people know, many years ago, Shane Warne got sponsored by a stop smoking campaign, and he got caught 2 weeks later on tour smoking. So it's probably not what you want then, probably not what you want now.
And they'll get cancelled.
Yes, yeah, and we've seen that a lot in the past with esports, like as a semi-pro previously myself and a bunch of others of, players sponsored by SteelSeries, but they're actually using a Logitech mouse.
Yes.
And people find out, and then it's not a good story. Yeah, it's not a good story at all. So, lucky last for some of the questions before we head into Q&A, a real esports OG, as we would say, someone who's been around for a long time. I have a couple of questions for you from Sky. Question number one is, there's a lot of opinions out there, everyone you ask, post-COVID. Everybody says brands really want to be involved in events, and the other 50% of people say that brands don't want to be involved in events anymore and they want to spend their money online. What's the actual answer post-COVID? Are you seeing more brand interest in events or less or similar?
Well, to put that into a perspective of a timeline, like you said, like I think even Kaustubh had mentioned, pre-2021 and post-2021. So until 2021, a lot of the brands that we have been working with were actively looking for online esports tournaments, where we do it online, give them the visibility and the impressions and all the integrations that we can on the live streams and the callouts. Now, it's gone to a point post 2021 where we have reached. I mean, I wouldn't say we have reached. We are close to a saturation point in terms of the viewership as well as impressions. That this is how much the audience is for, say, a certain title. Now, over that point of time, what's happening right now is the brands have also shifted their focus onto experiences. And since I think post 2021, we've been working with a lot of brands who want to have more offline events where their target audience get to use their products, and that's in fact is going to that's giving them more chances of conversion as well. And again, to answer your question, yes, there have been more number of brands nowadays that want to work in offline events, and compared to before where it was completely online and they just want. I mean, we were just able to offer a lot of these impressions and views, and now it's more to do with an experiential partnership with brands.
Yeah, great answer. My experience is exactly the same. And one of the great examples, I guess, is Red Bull, which you people mentioned. And theirs is always can in hand. That's what they're always interested in. They're interested in logos. They're interested in athletes holding the can physically, drinking from it. Yeah, and especially because their product is low cost as well. They can give it out to thousands of people. It doesn't cost a lot of money and get people experiencing their product. So great answer. So the second part of that, I'd be interesting in, we discussed this a little bit before about direct conversion versus awareness. I'd be interested for you talking about direct conversion. Do you have an example of a case study Sky's worked on where you've driven direct conversion for brands, and what kind of results did you deliver?
So yes, we have, I can give a couple of case studies on that, but that is on a level of content where I think this is coming to that phase pre-2021, where we were working with a couple of brands such as Loco and Router, which are broadcast platforms, and we have worked with them for quite a number of IPs, and two case studies there, and number one with Loco, and very recently as 2023, we had done our flagship event called Skyesports Championship 5.0, which was a BGMI LAN, which was offline. So we had partnered with Loco over there, and we tried a different approach there where we had to have a ticketed live stream. So we did that on the platform, and this is something that not a lot of people had done, and we wanted to try it out and see how this is coming up. And in terms of conversions, we were sort of surprised to see how many takers we had for that, and we were able to almost offer about 150k users, unique users who had paid their earned money to view this live stream for those 2 days. So that is one of the studies we were able to do. I mean, that is one of the things we tried. I mean, the other one is again with another broadcast platform called Router, and we were one of the very first tournament organizers to sign up a year-long partnership with Router, where we had executed about 6 different esports IPs in that period of a year, and we were able to quantify about 1 million unique users who were able to sign up to their platform. And this sort of helps us understand and sort of helped us work with brands and even push them to push for offline events, where you have brands like AMD who have been one of our long-standing partners, where we are in fact doing an event tomorrow and day after over there at the next hall, where we're going to also have a free play area where a lot of the players, a lot of the audience who can come, they can just get their hands on their latest products and equipment and all, which again comes back to the point where brands do want to have a one-on-one approach with the audience.
Yeah, fantastic. Some good answers. So we have a few minutes left. If anyone wants to ask Q&A, if not, I've always got follow-up questions I can ask. I can talk forever. So stick up their hand and come around with a microphone. You can ask questions to anyone on the panel.
Before that, I'll just add a closing remark here, because esports sponsorship overall, and listening from all the inputs across, I guess what from a brand perspective we look at is usually the package or the proposal that comes to a brand or sent by the TO or the team or agencies are usually one package fits all kind of a thing. What is missing, and probably that could be a game changer, is if these proposals are made relevant to the brands like you mentioned, right? Like Router and Loco, for example, is a streaming platform. And when you try to approach them saying, this is how you're going to get your customers in, or for example, the activation with TVS that you do a test ride over there and then that's how it works, getting a custom conversions, leading to conversion, or even if not conversion, at least, a good recall. Something which you guys have done is probably what should happen across the system. Because if it's not relevant to me, if you just come and say, okay, I'm going to give you 1 million views or X number of, fan followers growth, or your engagement score is going to be so much, is where we miss out on, we say, okay, it doesn't make sense.
I'd like to add something to this as we are moving to conclusion. As we are about to close our first quarter with Hero, and 2 days back we had review meeting, and client on their own, they gave us a compliment that after this association, Hero was there with IPL teams from the beginning, but they are with cricket from a long time. But after this association, first time, agencies and distributors from different zones of India, they are approaching head offices and are asking the esports or association which you had, can you please arrange meet and greet or some event in our agency, because majorly a youth is approaching them and requesting them that yes, we would love to meet these people at your stage. That's what that is kind of a biggest reset, what efforts which we are putting into the business.
Yeah, fantastic. It's all about selling a solution and also making the lives easier of these people. When I worked at Corsair, I did all of the Australian marketing, just me, events, branding, social media, influencers, everything. So, like you were saying, if someone's coming to you, pitching you, and asking you to do work, they're saying, hey, I'm an esports team, can you sponsor me? It's asking you to do all the thinking, and you're already too busy, right? And like you're saying, you want to sell a solution to someone. You go to Hero, this is who I am, this is what I give to you, this is what I want from you. It's very clear.
It's more of value addition.
Yeah.
We can add value.
So I think just adding to that, I think brands are also very fluid these days. If something doesn't work, they want to resolve it and move on. It's not like earlier times you're stuck with a deal for 5 years, right? If something doesn't work, they are also on their feet and they expect you to be too, right? I think whether it's from a content creation perspective, if something's not working, we change it the next day. Like Vishal rightly said, it's not just about 100 million views, but it's also about what would those 100 million views look like for the brand. You could deliver 100 million views, but are they even in tonality with what my brand does? Have you read about my brand? Is it in line? A brand today might want 10 million views, or some other brand might be happy with 1 million, but that's something extremely relevant or gamified or targeted to their audience, right? So I think it's extremely different. And I think the more we understand this landscape, I personally feel there's a lot of scope of brands investing in it, because like we said, that's exactly where their audience and the money is, that's where the bread and butter is. So they do want to talk to that audience, and there's no better way than being where they are, because they're definitely not on any other medium. They're definitely not on any other medium, but they're watching esports. So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. We have our first question from the audience, and got time for maybe 1 or 2 more after.
Yeah, so this is like just mainly for Sriram and Kaustubh. I just want to kind of figure out from an athlete and an organizer's perspective. So we have both endemic and non-endemic brands that like we kind of go after, and it doesn't, like for us, it kind of doesn't really matter. We just need the sponsorships, we need the money to grow this space. Do you guys have any experience with, so say the endemic brands maybe like once bitten, twice shy kind of a phenomenon going on, and also it's very difficult with brands that kind of, you'd have to explain what esports is, the entire concept, how it actually brings value to their brand. So which do you guys find, like if there's any, do you guys find in terms of which brands to go after, which are easier to convert or which are more accepting to esports as sponsorships?
So the brands that we have been talking to, like the non-endemic ones, are more to do with lifestyle brands which have a similar target audience, and they are very inclined to work with TOs or even teams for that matter, because the target audience is pretty much similar. The esports goers, the esports enthusiasts, as well as the people who use the lifestyle brands are pretty much similar. So it's not too hard to explain to them what this is all about. And they do have a fair understanding of all it is. And I think like Sumedha had mentioned earlier about all these brands having their own research teams. And so it makes it much easier. So it's not like it's pretty hard to explain it.
there is concept called as STP analysis, that is segmenting, targeting, and position, as we almost all of us have learned in marketing, right? As a part of passion, I am into teaching as well. I prefer to go as guest lecturers to many management institutes whenever I get time, and that really helps me to understand how we can go and understand the requirement of the brand. What happens generally is we approach with a different thing, that what we can get from others. We need to understand, okay, if I'm visiting brand A, what we can give to them. That really matters, right? And as he rightly mentioned, that anything which can be fitted into STP analysis of youth is the easiest way to catch for esports.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think adding to that too, while we're getting our next question, you know, I almost killed my agency in 2019 by selling to the wrong people, taking too long to get to a no, and that was when I was very early, you know, into sales before I learned. And just like what's been saying here, my analysis of it would be go to brands who want to buy, want to reach that audience, can buy and will buy. So make sure you're talking to the right people at any time. Because if you go into a brand that's focusing on life insurance for elderly people, you know, you're going to spend a lot of time educating them and giving them a university degree in esports for free for them to say no 10 months later and your runway's out. You need to go sell to people who want to reach your market. And like you were saying, brands are very smart these days as well, so they understand.
Thank you. My question is for Kaustubh. So as a esports org, how do you basically sell sponsorships? I come from Skyesports, so I know about the TO side, where we're creating an IP, we're giving them a set, array of deliverables. But as an esports org, where a lot of your, it's luck based. Where will you qualify for a tournament? Will this happen? So given these variables, how are you properly able to sell sponsorships and guarantee, conversions to a brand?
See, as he is mentioning about, that is the biggest challenge for everyone. We'll tell you the fun fact. When we were presenting to brands, mainly to this Hero and Realme, somehow my team didn't qualify to any of the big tournaments, and that raised internal question. Then we'll answer the core question now. The biggest difference between sponsorships to TOs and to any of the esports organizations is TOs, the viewership, the numbers, the time frame which they can offer, and the story which we can build. For us, for any of the organizations, we have different set of teams with us, we have different set of content creators, they have their own specializations. And what we try to do is, we try to build a story which can help brand to relate with it. And that's what the biggest difference is for, as per me, when it comes to tournament organization, it's about they have their own IPs, they have their set time of duration, and then they can claim that this much of viewership or walk-ins or as he rightly mentioned, experience we can offer to the brand. But for us it's a bit different. We have to plan for a 6-month or a year plan. We need to sit down, we need to brainstorm like anything. We almost 6 to 7 people we have, who we sit together. We can we need to write down the list of items which we can offer to the brand, which brand would like to see as an association.